You're standing there, phone in hand, thumb hovering right over buy now. 5 questions stand between you and either years of regret or real financial freedom. Almost nobody asks all 5. Today, you will. Before we get into it, hit subscribe and drop a like. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Now let's get straight into it. This is the 5-question rule, and it works on literally any purchase, from a $5 coffee to a car. Before you pay for anything, you run it through 5 checkpoints in this exact order: self-awareness, motive, affordability, research, and timing. This framework is popular among finance experts like Dave Ramsey, and for good reason. It forces a deliberate pause between the impulse and the transaction, which is exactly the gap where most bad financial decisions quietly happen. You don't need an app for this. You don't need a spreadsheet. You just need 30 seconds and 5 honest answers. Answer these 5 truthfully every single time, and impulse spending becomes almost mathematically impossible, because at least one of these 5 questions will catch what the others miss. Here's why this actually works better than most budgeting advice out there. Most people fail at spending control not because they lack willpower in general, but because they never built a specific checkpoint into the exact moment temptation shows up. A budget you set at the start of the month is easy to ignore 3 weeks later, standing in a store with your card already out. 5 short questions asked right there in that exact moment are much harder to skip. Let's break down each one at a time, with the exact way to use it in real life. The first question is simple on the surface. Will this purchase actually add value to your life? Or are you using it as retail therapy? Be brutally honest here, because this is the question people lie to themselves about the most. A huge amount of spending has nothing to do with the actual product. It's about the small dopamine hit that fires right before the payment clears. You had a rough day at work, you're bored on a Sunday afternoon, you're stressed about something completely unrelated to shopping, and suddenly a new pair of shoes or a random gadget feels like the exact solution to that discomfort. It never actually is. The feeling wears off in hours, and the item usually ends up sitting untouched. One fast, practical trick to test your own self-awareness in the moment is the HALT check. Ask yourself, am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired right now? Any one of those 4 states quietly hijacks your decision-making, and your brain becomes far more likely to chase short-term relief instead of thinking about long-term value. If HALT flags something, the fix isn't a purchase, it's a snack, a phone call to a friend, or simply going to bed early. Handle the actual underlying feeling first, then come back to the buying decision later with a genuinely clear head. You'll be shocked how often the need for that item quietly disappears once the real emotion gets addressed properly. Picture this scenario. You just left a tense meeting at work. You're frustrated, and an ad for a limited edition sneaker pops up on your feed within minutes. That's not a coincidence. That's timing, designed to exploit exactly this state. Running the self-awareness question here and noticing that you're angry, not genuinely interested in sneakers, is often the entire difference between a closet full of regret and a bank account that actually grows month after month. The question costs you nothing to ask, but skipping it can cost you real money over and over every single week. The second question digs into why you actually want this thing in the first place. Is it filling a genuine need, or are you falling into what's often called the comparison trap? This shows up constantly with social media, probably more than any other trigger out there. Someone posts a new gadget, a renovated kitchen, a weekend trip, and suddenly you feel behind, like you need to catch up to a life you were never actually living in the first place. That's not motive. That's peer pressure wearing a checkout button. Comparing yourself to other people's carefully curated highlight reels is consistently linked to more overspending, more anxiety, and more regret after the purchase is already done, not less. A useful gut check here. Would you still want this exact item if absolutely nobody else would ever know you own it? No photos, no mentions, nothing. If the honest answer is no, that tells you everything you need to know about your real motive. Genuine need survives that test easily. Status-driven wanting almost never does, and catching that difference before you pay is worth more than any coupon code. Think about the last time a coworker showed up with a brand new car. If your very next thought was about financing your own upgrade, even though your current car runs perfectly fine, that reaction came from comparison, not from an actual transportation need. Naming that out loud, even just in your own head, is usually enough to deflate the urge before it turns into a signature on a loan. The third question is probably the most misunderstood one on this entire list. Can you actually afford this right now, today? Real affordability has one simple, non-negotiable rule. You can pay for the item in full, immediately, using money you already have sitting in your account. Not a payment plan spread across 12 months. Not a buy now, pay later split into 4 easy installments. Not a credit card balance you're planning to deal with sometime later. If you need financing just to walk out the door with it, you are not affording that item. You're simply negotiating the terms of your future debt. And future you rarely thanks present you for that deal. The fastest way to check this honestly is a written, zero-based budget, where every dollar already has a specific job assigned to it before the month even begins. If this particular purchase already has a line item sitting there waiting for it, you can buy it completely guilt-free, no second-guessing required. If it doesn't have a line item, the honest, uncomfortable answer is that you can't actually afford it today, no matter how healthy your checking account balance happens to look at this exact moment. A high balance can trick your brain into feeling richer than your actual plan allows for. Say your account shows $3,000, but rent, groceries, and an upcoming insurance payment already claim most of that before the month is over. A $600 gadget might technically clear the transaction, but it would quietly wreck the rest of your plan. The account balance lied to you. The budget line item never does. The fourth question is about doing your homework before you commit any money to anything. Have you actually compared prices across a couple of places? Or are you buying from the very first listing that popped up on your screen? A few extra minutes of research routinely saves real, meaningful money, sometimes a genuinely large amount on bigger purchases. Check the used market too. Platforms built around resale often have the exact same item for a fraction of the retail price, especially true for electronics, furniture, tools, and clothing that barely gets worn before it's resold. Also, look past the price tag itself and consider the brand's actual track record. Does this thing typically last for years, or does it fall apart in 6 months, quietly forcing you to buy the exact same category of item all over again next spring? Skipping research is exactly how people end up effectively paying full price twice within a single year. Once for the cheap version that broke, and again for the better one they should have bought the first time around. A quick real-world test. Before buying a new blender, laptop, or pair of work boots, spend 5 minutes searching the model name, along with the word review or durability. That single search often reveals whether you're about to buy something built to last or something engineered to quietly fail right after the return window closes. This step alone just 5 minutes of searching, is consistently the most skipped question on this entire list, mostly because it feels boring compared to the excitement of the purchase itself, yet it's often the one that saves the most money over time. The fifth and final question is timing. And honestly, this one alone stops more impulse buys than almost anything else on this entire list. Is right now genuinely the best moment to make this purchase? Or are you simply buying because the urge happened to show up today, at this exact hour? For anything non-essential, give it a full 30 days before committing. Write down the item and today's date somewhere you'll actually see it again. Then simply wait and let time do the filtering for you. Most of the emotional intensity behind any purchase fades noticeably within just a few days, and a surprisingly large percentage of must-have right-now items quietly stop feeling necessary at all once that initial adrenaline spike wears off completely. For bigger purchases, timing also means aligning your spending with seasonal sales cycles instead of buying the exact moment you feel the itch, and building a dedicated sinking fund ahead of time so that when the right moment finally arrives, you're paying with cash you've already patiently saved, not scrambling to finance a decision that was really made in one single emotional moment. A simple test of this rule in action. The next time you feel the pull to buy something non-essential, set a reminder on your phone for 30 days out instead of buying right now. When that reminder eventually goes off, roughly half the time, you won't even remember what the item was, and that alone tells you exactly how much of the original urgency was ever real. 5 questions, in this exact order: self-awareness, motive, affordability, research, timing. Run every single non-trivial purchase through that filter before you pay, and you remove almost all the guesswork and most of the regret out of your spending going forward. It takes roughly 30 seconds to think through in the moment, and it can realistically save you thousands of dollars over the course of a single year without a single spreadsheet or budgeting app required. The 5 questions do the heavy lifting. All you have to do is actually pause long enough to ask them out loud if you have to, before your thumb ever reaches that button. None of these questions require you to become someone who never enjoys spending money again. That's not the goal. And honestly, that version of financial discipline rarely lasts anyway. The actual goal is making sure every purchase you do make survives honest scrutiny first, so the things you buy are things you actually chose, instead of things a mood, an ad, or a countdown timer chose for you. Save this video or write the 5 words down somewhere you'll actually see them. Your phone's lock screen works fine, and the next time your thumb hovers over that button, run the checklist before the payment ever clears. If this rule genuinely gave you something useful to think about, hit that like button right now. It helps this video reach someone else who needs to hear it too. And if you want more videos exactly like this one, practical, no fluff, straight to the point, go ahead and subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is built around. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.